Lou Henry was born in Waterloo, Iowa on March 29, 1874, to Florence Ida and Charles Delano Henry, who was a banker by trade. Lou grew up something of a tomboy, first in Waterloo and later in the California towns of Whittier and Monterey. Charles Henry took his daughter on camping trips in the hills, which was her greatest pleasure in her early teens. She hunted and preserved specimens with the skill of a taxidermist, and she developed an enthusiasm for rocks, minerals, and mining. Lou began her post-secondary schooling at the Los Angeles Normal School. She then transferred to San Jose Normal School, from which she obtained a teaching credential in 1893. She next went on to Stanford University to pursue a bachelor's degree in geology. By her senior year at the university, she was a member of the basketball committee, vice president of the Women's Athletic Association, and an active member of the archery club. It was there that she met her future husband, Herbert Hoover, who was then a senior. She was the school's only female geology major at the time and received her BA in geology in 1898. In 1898, Herbert Hoover cabled Lou Henry, asking her to marry him, and she cabled back her acceptance of the proposal. Herbert and Lou were both 24 years old when they married on February 10, 1899, at her parents' home in Monterey, California. Although she had been raised Episcopalian, Lou decided to become a Quaker, as Herbert was already. But because there were no Quaker meeting houses in Monterey, they were married in a civil ceremony performed by Father Raymond Mestris, a Roman Catholic priest of the Cathedral of San Carlos Borromeo. The day after the marriage, the Hoovers sailed from San Francisco, California, United States, to Shanghai, China, where they spent 4 days in the Astor House Hotel. The newlyweds soon settled in their first home, a large house in Tianjin, North China, China. They lived in China from April 1899 until August 1900. Herbert's job required extensive travel throughout remote and dangerous areas, which they did together. Mrs. Hoover studied Mandarin Chinese while living in China. Mrs. Hoover was present with her husband during the Boxer Rebellion, an anti-foreign, anti-colonial, and anti-Christian uprising in China between 1899 and 1901. The Hoover family began living in London in 1902, and Lou gave birth to 2 children, Herbert Hoover Jr., born in 1903, and Allen Henry Hoover, born in 1907. Mrs. Hoover was also well versed in Latin. She collaborated with her husband in translating Agricolia's De Re Metallica, a 16th century encyclopedia of mining and metallurgy. The Hoover translation was published in 1912 and remains in print today as the standard English translation. During the First War, she assisted her husband in providing relief for Belgian refugees in London, England. She was also involved with the American Women's War Relief Fund, which provided ambulances, funded 2 hospitals, and provided economic opportunities for women during the war. For her work with the Belgian refugees, she was decorated in 1919 by King Albert I of Belgium. After his election as president in 1920, Warren G. Harding rewarded Henry Hoover for his support, offering to appoint him as either Secretary of the Interior or Secretary of Commerce. Herbert would serve as Secretary of Commerce from 1921 to 1929, serving under Presidents Warren G. Harding and Calvin Coolidge. Meanwhile, Lou served as the national president of the Girl Scouts of the USA from 1922 to 1925. Lou funded the construction of the first Girl Scout house in Palo Alto, California, built in 1922. It's the oldest Girl Scout house in continuous use. It is now called Lou Henry Hoover Girl Scout House. Herbert Hoover ran for the presidency of the United States of America in 1928. He won the election in 1929. As the First Lady, Lou Hoover discontinued the New Year's Day reception. She played a critical role in designing and overseeing the construction of a rustic presidential retreat at Rapidan Camp in Madison County, Virginia, which is the precursor of the current presidential retreat, Camp David. At times in the executive mansion, she would speak to her husband in Mandarin Chinese to foil eavesdroppers. To date, she is the only First Lady to speak an Asian language. After her time as First Lady, Lou served as the national president of the Girl Scouts of the USA from 1935 to 1937. Lou Hoover died of a heart attack in New York City on January 7, 1944. She was found dead in her bedroom by Herbert, who came to kiss her goodnight. She was originally buried in Palo Alto, California. Following Herbert Hoover's death in 1964, she was re-entered next to the former president at West Branch, Iowa. In 1953, Camp Lou Henry Hoover in Middleville, New Jersey was built and is named for her and run by the Heart of New Jersey Council of the Girl Scouts.